Meet Alex. 10 years ago, Alex was the ultimate model citizen. He worked 60 hours a week, saved every extra cent in his savings account, and avoided debt like it was a contagious disease. He played by the rules he was taught in school. Work hard, save money, and you'll be safe. But last month, Alex sat at his kitchen table, staring at a bank statement that made his stomach turn. Despite doing everything right, his savings were worth 30% less than they were a decade ago. He realized the system he trusted wasn't just broken, it was rigged from the start. Today, we aren't just talking about finance. We're pulling back the curtain on the biggest financial lie in human history. Why are you working harder while getting poor? And more importantly, who is actually holding the keys to the life you're trying to build? By the end of this journey, you won't just understand money, you'll understand the game you've been forced to play. To understand Alex's failure, we have to go back to 1971, the day the world shifted from gold, something physical and finite, to fiat currency. Imagine a casino where the house doesn't just hold the chips, they create them out of thin air. Since 1971, the global money supply has exploded into the hundreds of trillions.
But here's the catch. That money didn't just appear in your pocket. It was created through debt. Every time you take a loan, a mortgage, or swipe your credit card, you are literally birthing new currency. But this system has a dark secret. It requires constant growth to survive. It's a game of musical chairs where the music never stops, but the chairs are being removed one by one. The people at the top, they know the chairs are disappearing, so they are buying everything that is actually real. While you are saving paper that loses value, they are collecting assets that gain it. This isn't an accident. It's the architecture of inequality. If you follow the money, you don't end up at your local bank. You end up in glass-walled rooms in places like New York, London, and Basel. Let's call these people the architects. They operate on a principle called the Cantillon Effect. Think of it like a fountain of fresh water. The people standing at the top, the giant banks and corporations, get the fresh water first. By the time that money flows down to the bottom where Alex is standing, the water is muddy, diluted, and barely enough to survive. They don't need to steal your money. They just change its value before it ever touches your hands. This is why inflation isn't a natural phenomenon. It's a policy. Every time they stimulate the economy, they are effectively transferring wealth from your savings account into their asset portfolio. You're not just losing purchasing power. You're paying for their next yacht, their next acquisition, and their next expansion.
It is the most efficient system of wealth transfer ever created. Alex finally realized that saving is just a slow, polite way to go broke. He was playing by the rules of the 20th century in a world that had completely changed. He looked at what the architects actually did. They didn't save paper. They owned parts of the world. They owned land, they owned businesses, they owned technology. Alex knew he couldn't beat them, so he had to start playing their game. He began to pivot. He stopped chasing a salary and started chasing leverage. He realized that in a world where money is constantly being devalued, the only true safety is in owning assets that produce value. It wasn't about working harder, it was about changing his position in the fountain. He started moving from the muddy bottom toward the clean top. This shift wasn't easy. It required unlearning everything he had been taught since childhood, but it was the only way to stop being the fuel for the system and start being the driver of his own life. The tragedy isn't that Alex lost his savings. The tragedy is that he spent a decade following a map that was designed to lead him into a dead end. But here is the good news. The map is now in your hands.
You don't have to be the fuel for the system anymore. You can choose to be the engine. The global financial landscape is shifting again, and the rules are about to change once more. You can either be a casualty of the next reset, or you can be the one who positions himself to thrive. I know this is a lot to process, but understanding the why is the first step to the how. In our next deep dive, we are going to break down the exact asset allocation strategy that the top 0.1% uses to protect their wealth during these shifts. You won't want to miss that. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and take back control of your financial destiny. The cage is only invisible if you choose not to look at the bars. It's time to break out. I'll see you in the next one.